Okay, so on this one, we're given this formula. Oops, given this formula here, and we're trying to solve for B1. So this is going to be tricky. All right, this is not easy. Let me help you with this one. So A equals, make that equals something bigger, better, equals a half H B1 plus B2. Okay, and let me put in the wall of separation, right? Equal sign is always left side, right side. Okay. So now we are trying to solve this equation for what? So here's so we're studying formulas now. So here in this section 2.6, we are studying formulas, and so that's harder. That's like doing physics or chemistry here. This is more advanced stuff. Just the look of it could impress your friends, probably. It just looks advanced, doesn't it? It is. It's not simple. Okay, and they can pick any of those letters. They could say, hey, get H alone, or get B1 alone, or get B2 alone, right? Or A, right? Any of them. And what are they asking for? Well, they said B1. See how all these little answers, it's just a multiple choice question. All the different answers have the B1 alone. And they say, which answer would you get to solve for B1? So they want us to solve for B1. They want us to get B1 alone. All right, anyway, back to the drawing board. What do we do first, Jeff? Well, step number one, when we notice we have fractions with an equal sign. This is not the first time. We've had whole sections on this, right? Do you see it? Here's fraction, here's an equal sign, right? What do we do when we have fractions with an equal sign? Well, we multiply all the terms left and right by, well, on that camera, left and right by the LCD over 1. LCD equals denoms multiplied together. Well, in this case, we only have one denominator, right? Pretty simple. Okay, what do we do with it? We multiply by 2. You can put 2 over 1, but when that other side's not even a fraction. This side, I will definitely put 2 over 1. Now you think, okay, yeah, but don't you need to go here and here? No, yeah. So now we learn a new rule. Only outside of parentheses, because that will later distribute in. Distribute inside. That making sense? Because that's a confusing point here. Because I think most people know, most of you guys know at this point, because of your experience, that when you have fractions with an equal sign, what we need to do is multiply by the LCD over 1, which is 2 over 1. Okay, but a lot of people go, yeah, but we got to go here and here. You said all the terms return. Yeah. This is all one big term. It's all one big, how do you know? Because when you're with parentheses, you're connected. This is all one big term. And so you don't need to put a 2 over 1 here and here. Why? Because whatever you do in the front of a parenthesis, on the next step will go into the parenthesis, won't it? So that way you really have done it to all those guys when you do it to the front of a parenthesis. Is that making sense? So you just do it to the front of the parenthesis. You don't need to also go inside, because on the next step, whatever you did to the front will go inside. It'll distribute inside. So just to the front. Okay. So what do we get then? We get 2a. That's pretty obvious. Here the 2's cancel. You know step 2. Cross cancel. Cross cancel. And then multiply the leftovers, right? Cross cancel. And then, so what do we have? This H, B1 plus B2. By the way, B1, B2, I don't know if that's confusing for you. B1 and B2, treat them like just totally different letters, even though they're both B. A B1, B sub 1 and a B sub 2. It's just like totally different, like X and Y. Just treat them as totally different letters. All right, and now what happens with parentheses? You know, boom and a boom. So we get 2A is HB1 plus HB2, and the parentheses are gone, right? We drop the walls, the water goes in. All right, we good? It's looking a little better, right? No more fractions, no more parentheses. It's looking nicer. Now, you can get to this point and go, what am I even supposed to do now? How do you even know what to do? Well, this is where, you know, when I taught my kids growing up different sports, especially tennis, a little baseball, I would always tell them, you know, it's all about keeping your eye on the ball, see that ball, stare at it. I used to say to my sons and daughters, you know, I want you to read the words on that tennis ball as it flips through the air. I want you to read the little tag on it, trying to get their eyes to be on the ball. Well, that's what we've got to do here on solving. What's the ball? It's B1. It's whatever they've asked us to solve for, right? All the answers have B1 alone. So let's keep our eyes on the ball here. I'm just going to circle it. There's the ball. That's the guy that we have to, that's the guy that is down here and he's yelling out, I want to be alone, right? That's our X, so to speak, which I know it's confusing when we have lots of different letters, but that's our X. That's the one letter we want to solve for. They could have picked any letter, and they will in these formula problems. They'll pick different letters at different times. This is how formulas work in science, chemistry, physics, etc. So we want to solve for B1. We want to get B1 alone. So what do we do to get B1 alone? Well, remember, we save what's right next to B1 for the last step and divide. That'll be the last step. We'll get rid of that H, which is right next to B1 on the last step by dividing. That's what we always do, right? All right, so that means right now we got to get rid of this HB2, right? And how do we get rid of it? Well, we always do the opposite. It's an added HB2. So what am I going to do? I'm going to subtract HB2. Whatever I do to one side, I have no choice but to do the same thing to the other, huh? Cancel, cancel. What do I get over here? HB1. What's on this side? Well, it's these two guys together, and they just go next to each other. They can't combine in any way, shape, or form because they're just different letters. So they just all go next to each other, just kind of sitting like that. Nothing more we can actually do on that one. We good?
Now, Mr. Heron, I have a quick question.
Yeah, Alexander.
Okay, so you know, so I see how we minus HB2. I get that. But so we can, even if something is being multiplied, as long as there's a plus or a minus symbol, we can just minus or plus the whole thing away.
That's right. Yeah, because I know you're looking at, well, aren't these two guys multiplied? They totally are. But I'm looking at the whole big picture, saying that whole group of two things is added. Exactly right, Alexander. Because that group is added, I subtract that whole group. That's
okay,
right.
Thank you.
You've got it right. Yep. And now, last step, I need to get B1 alone, right? Which means I need to separate it from this H. Well, and how do you do that? Well, that H is multiplied. The H is right next to B1. Whenever two things are right next to each other with no symbol in between, we know that means times, and the opposite of times is divide. Now, careful, when you divide, what are you going to do? You're going to divide by the H, and here, and here. Remember, equal treatment. Equal treatment. It's an equal sign. Whatever we do to one part, we do to all the parts. What happens? These cancel. B1's got his wish. He's alone. What happens? These guys cancel too, huh? And so what's left? 2A over H minus B2. Here it is. 2A over H minus B2. We did it. We got B1 alone. So let's recap. Fractions. We know what we do with those. LCD over 1. So I did 2 over 1 and 2. And you only need to do the outside of the parentheses. Whatever you do to the outside, next stuff will go in. That takes care of the whole thing. These cancel. H is here. And then H goes in. HB1, HB2. And then we got to get the B1 alone. He's the ball. Keep driving the ball. Got to get B1 alone. Subtract the whole HB2 from both sides. It's gonzo. And then divide by the H, all three. Here it cancels and cancels. So we get that. B2's alone. There we go.